everybody. Happy Monday afternoon to you. It's Regional Weather Meteorologist Matt Wentz. I promised an update, and I want to get you the freshest data that we have, because typically what I'd be doing this evening would be talking about the data that just came in. So it'd be a couple hours old, but I want to make sure you get the updated information on our severe weather threat tomorrow. So things starting to come together. There's been an upgrade in terms of that severe weather potential here locally. There's also been an upgrade in terms of the severe weather threat in the plains over the next couple hours. Pretty incredible severe weather event expected to unfold as we go throughout the evening hours out in areas of Oklahoma and Kansas. We talked about this last night on the broadcast, but certainly going to get real hairy out there. We get the leftovers of that tomorrow morning, and then we're likely to see more storms refire as we get into the afternoon hours tomorrow here locally. So want to take you into it now in terms of kind of what the maps look like here. As always, want to thank our sponsors. This is a bonus broadcast for them. Minogue.life, the place to go for any life insurance questions, Medicare, Medicaid, all that stuff. That's where your answers are. You've got a local guy who can take care of all that for you, and he does it in a great job. Michael's been doing it for years. So Minogue.life, PSA, those are public service adjusters. If you have an insurance claim, go to them, because they'll go to your insurance company for you. They'll get you more money than you normally get, and they do it, and they do an amazing job at it. 5-star reviews across the board. Ewing Mechanical Services, that's ewingmech.com. That's the place to go if you're looking for a new air conditioner, maybe just getting your AC tuned up as we go into springtime. They have great specials right now on new ACs. You can get it installed by the end of the month, only for May, for $3,900, brand new AC package. Doesn't that sound good? TigerPlumbing.net, the place to go for your local plumbers. If you need anything plumbing related, a spigot dripping outside, whatever it happens to be, that's the place to go. TigerPlumbing.net. And Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. They've been serving Northwest Indiana for years. All these folks are local, family-owned businesses, which is great. Kids, can you shut the alarm off? That'd be great. Emmy, can you shut that alarm off? This is what happens in the middle of the day. It's a freaking circus here. All right, let's dive into it. And I appreciate you guys joining us. I know it's middle of the afternoon for a lot of you at work. So I want to kind of cut to the chase here and get you into the map. So this is what we're dealing with today from the Storm Prediction Center. Totally agree with this. I'm glad they did the upgrade. But you notice there is the very, very rare high risk that got issued for areas of Oklahoma and southern Kansas. This is the bullseye where severe weather is expected to be at its worst today. They're expecting numerous EF3 tornadoes or greater. Long track tornadoes, long-lived tornadoes, all possible today out in the plains. No threat for us, obviously, today. We're dealing with sunshine. It's a gorgeous afternoon. But all this is going to be happening out towards our west. And then tomorrow, it shifts east. We knew that, right? We've been talking about on the broadcast in our update here this morning. We talked about that line of storms that would be moving through tomorrow morning, sometime in and around rush hour. Well, once that moves through, there's still indication that we could get some more pops beyond that. So that's what we have to keep an eye on for tomorrow. But you notice the threat. Yeah, it does include Northwest Indiana tomorrow, and it also includes over towards Ohio, where there's an enhanced risk for severe weather tomorrow afternoon. And you notice in terms of tornado threat, it's not zero here locally. There is a threat for that. Wind damage would be the primary suspect, especially with that morning round. And hail, you can see the areas that are expected to get some hail tomorrow afternoon. So here's what we're dealing with right now on satellite. We've got mainly clear skies here after some morning clouds. Still some clouds around in our southeastern counties down towards Stark County. Just some high fair weather clouds. That's it. Otherwise, we've got fair weather here. Here's a big area of low pressure out in the plains. This is the cold air sinking into it, heading through Colorado. That cold air is punching into, as well as dry air. There's a dry line with this. That's all punching into warm, humid air out ahead of it. And notice the explosion right here. My mouse cursor is. These are all clouds, and these are explosive thunderstorms that are really just popping right now. The cap is eroded. Things are just going nuts. This line will continue to develop down towards the south. There's lots of wind shear with this, or present as it goes east. And this line of storms will likely be producing multiple tornadoes. You'll probably see national news tonight, or if you're watching Weather Channel, wherever it happens to be, you'll probably see multiple tornado warnings in a line as you go down towards Oklahoma. I've seen events like this before. Hopefully, it's not as bad. I've seen events like this which don't pan out to have a ton of tornadoes. There's just a lot of severe weather with it. Hopefully, that's the kind of night we're in store for out in areas of Oklahoma and Kansas. But all indication is that the atmosphere is certainly ready to go, and in a big way, especially with the wind shear present, with the jet stream energy that's coming into this. So this could unfortunately be a real bad night for those areas. Let's hope it's not as bad as what the models are saying and kind of what we're looking at here. So for our purposes here, this same line that's developing right now, which is kind of crazy to think of, the clouds that are developing from cumulus to cumulonimbus clouds in Oklahoma right now, those same clouds and that same line of storms is what rolls through here tomorrow morning. That's just crazy to think that the clouds are just now getting going and they're going to affect us tomorrow morning. So here's what we're looking at on radar right now. I notice nothing here locally. Here's your line of storms as it gets cranking now. Again, this will fill in further down. So that's what we're looking at. So here's where I want to spend our time here. And again, I won't spend much more of your time. I'll answer your questions at the end. But in terms of the modeling, everything still agreeing compared to our broadcast last night. If you joined us for our Sunday evening Region Weather Live, that's typically when we do Region Weather Lives. Everything kind of agrees with that. Here's your explosive thunderstorm development. Here are all your supercells tonight. Watch how that line eventually becomes just a giant line segment. There's going to be a ton of lightning from this, all the way from Minnesota down towards Texas. It'll just be a giant line of lightning. Boy, if you're in an airplane or flying anywhere over this, it's going to be pretty cool to watch as you go through that. There will be a real decent shelf cloud, too. You're going to get a lot of pictures on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. There's going to be a lot of pictures coming in from this because these are going to be picturesque storms as well, unfortunately, on the bad side. And here's your tornado threat mainly down to the south. As we go through time, this is overnight. This is now tomorrow morning, okay? Still expecting kind of the remnants of this line. This line will be weakening as it moves in, but it's going to have a lot of energy with it already. So it's going to take some time to slow this thing down and break it apart. So I still think we're going to get a pretty formidable line of storms through here tomorrow morning. Timing on this varies depending on what model you look at. I've seen anywhere from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., all right? Somewhere in there. Again, that can still adjust, but we're just going to pin it at tomorrow morning, depending on how things develop here this evening, where we're going to get a line. There'll probably be a shelf cloud with it. Shelf cloud being, the rolling cloud you see coming in where you've got like the white cloud coming in and then it's dark behind it. We'll probably have that tomorrow morning. Gusty winds and damaging winds are the primary threat. There's going to be a pretty decent wind flow coming out of this, especially tomorrow morning as we get a lot of sinking and cold air aloft that's kind of diving into this. So I do expect some wind with this tomorrow morning as well. There'll be some lightning as well. The rain, yes, it's going to be heavy as this moves through tomorrow morning, but it's going to be brief, so I don't expect any flooding problems with this, maybe localized and temporary. That's about it. And we could certainly have some hail with it as well. But this rolls through tomorrow morning, so that's still our threat window tomorrow morning. Here's what is kind of the update on the severe weather. As this moves through, the low pressure is still well off towards the west. So this thing gets way out ahead of the actual cold front itself. And so this almost acts like a warm front tomorrow morning, in that once it moves through, we're going to have humidity that increases. The wind is still going to be out of the southwest. So it'll be gusty, and we're still on the warm side. And so what's going to happen is with that instability, the models develop the second round of storms, maybe 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours after that initial round goes through. So we're now talking lunchtime into the afternoon and likely earlier afternoon, 2, 3, 4, okay? That's when we're going to watch for the secondary area of storms to develop. And these could get a little squirrely. And by squirrely, I mean hail is a potential. Doesn't mean we're going to see these. They'll be scattered, so it doesn't mean everyone's going to see them, but they'll be around because models are pretty consistent in this. And so hail's a possibility, damaging winds of those as well. But here's where your tornado threat comes in, because these would likely be, a lot of them would likely be discrete supercells. You can see how they're developing, not just in a cluster, but kind of on their own. So that's the potential tomorrow that we're watching for. The threat isn't huge here locally because they'll be developing over us. So they're not going to quite be mature thunderstorms yet as they're over us. All indication is saying that. Whereas they would develop as they head out towards eastern half in Indiana, as they get into Ohio, southwest lower Michigan. Those are the areas where these storms would likely be more mature, and we'd see more of a severe threat, but we have to keep an eye on it. So again, this model is not truth, okay? It's just an idea of what it thinks is going to happen, but it's been pretty consistent in terms of developing the secondary round of storms tomorrow afternoon. Once that goes through, we're fine. You see how it becomes quite a mess in Michigan and Ohio and Indiana. And overall, we're fine after that. And even the winds will start to relax tomorrow night. All right, a couple other things we can look at here. We're going to have plenty of instability. Here's your instability. Notice how we've got none tonight. Tomorrow morning, we don't have a lot as that moves through. That's why that line kind of fades. But watch what happens tomorrow afternoon. We regain it real fast. And we're talking anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram squared. Big number, right? That's CAPE. That's our convective available potential energy. That just tells us how much energy the atmosphere has. You need some, and the more you have supports severe weather, right? So this is more than enough to support severe weather as that kind of unfolds. And then the other thing I want to show you is our, what do I want to show you here? Significant tornado parameter. So what this is, this is a giant algorithm that we learned in school and then we never used it. It's a giant algorithm that basically says what are the chances of significant tornadoes, all right? And it's on a scale of 0 to 10. Look at Oklahoma tonight. I mean, this is off the charts. I mean, it's 9 and 10 in terms of the index. But as it moves in here, nothing tomorrow morning. And then notice tomorrow as we get into that secondary round of storms, I mean, we've got a pretty decent chance, at least the atmosphere is going to be structured in the way to potentially produce a tornado or two here locally. And notice how that heads east and the threat increases. That's why I'm saying the chances are higher as you get further east, out into Michigan and Ohio and Kentucky, down towards Tennessee. That's where the real risk is tomorrow afternoon and evening after those storms develop and move through. Okay, so that's what we've got. And then I just like looking at this. This is simulated echo tops. This is how tall are the clouds. They're going to be pushing 50,000 feet, which is pretty high. I mean, that's about as high as we get this time of year. In the summertime, we can get 55, 60,000 feet. Typically don't go much above that. Remember, planes usually fly at 30,000 feet. So anytime you're talking the 40, 50,000 foot range, that's when the planes are avoiding these giant anvil thunderheads that are way up above where the planes actually fly. But in terms of echo tops, we'll have some pretty high clouds as they move through. And even here locally, we could be talking 30 to 35,000 foot tops. Why is that important? Because the higher that cloud goes in the atmosphere, the more juju or atmospheric energy it can tap into, the more cold air it can tap into way up above as you have those updrafts and downdrafts going up to 30,000 feet as opposed to, 10 and 15,000 feet like they do in the winter time. So you can certainly get some more formidable storms out of that. And that secondary round, most of them are going to be pretty low topped until they develop out east. All right. So that's why our threat isn't quite as high tomorrow afternoon, but it's still there. Okay. All right. So that's all I have for you. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Just want to give you the heads up on that. I am not going to do an update tonight because nothing's going to change between now and this evening. I'll go back to the reflectivity and run it. That way we can kind of see it on a loop here. One more thing I didn't want to show you. I didn't want to show you another model because I don't want to just say, the HER is the only model we're looking at. This is an AM Nest, pretty similar solution out towards the west. It brings that line through tomorrow morning. It brings it through a little less structured, so it wouldn't quite pack the wind. But I would imagine, I don't really like this solution. I like the HER a lot better. But either way, we'd get a round of storms in the morning. And then the NAM Nest develops a pretty formidable round of storms a little bit further to our west. If that happens, then we would get the more mature storms that I'm thinking will be further east. And then obviously they carry that severe threat that we're talking about. And you can see some of those are going to be pretty decent storms, maybe with a tornado potential with that. Okay. So in terms of what we need to do from here, I want to get the word out. I mean, we need to be weather aware tomorrow. Is it a slam dunk day where we're going to have widespread severe weather? No, it's not. And it never is. It rarely is, right? Unless we have that Oklahoma atmosphere parked over us, then it'd be a slam dunk day. But in terms of what you need to know kind of on the go forward, 2 rounds of severe weather tomorrow, at least a potential for it. That morning round is going to be the leftovers off of what's developing tonight out towards the west. I'm expecting strong wind potential from that. Okay, that's going to be tomorrow morning. Brief line at some heavy rain. We'd likely have, some lightning with that as well. So that's in and around your morning commute tomorrow. And then beyond that, we dry up for maybe a couple hours or so. The wind will pick up. It'll start to warm up once again. And we're back to another severe weather threat. That severe threat would be popping over us, okay? It's not going to be something we'll see coming in from the west. We may see a couple cells develop in Illinois. We'll watch them come in, but we're going to be kind of the bullseye for the development of those, all right? And that's going to be tomorrow afternoon. Timing right now, again, guys, this can vary. This can change based on how things develop tonight in the plains and how that spreads east. But either way, I'm looking at anytime probably after 1 o'clock. So 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock is when I'm expecting that afternoon stuff to develop. But take that with a grain of salt, because if that morning round comes through at 6 a.m., let's say that, then you give me 3 hours for us to heat up and dry out. Then we're talking, an 11 o'clock development of storms. So either way, 2 rounds tomorrow. That's what I'm looking at, though. And I'm pretty confident in that. Timing can still be adjusted either way. Okay. And both rounds could be severe, as we mentioned. That first one has a damaging wind threat. That second round is the one I'd be concerned with for more so hail and a tornado threat with that as well. Okay. All right. So I'm seeing, no, Savannah, I wouldn't cancel plans. I'm seeing some of your questions here. Seeing a lot of timing questions. So there's that. Fernando, I like your comment there. That's funny. Melissa, I can't tell you if an exact community is going to get severe weather or not. Our forecasting ability just doesn't go down to that. And the reason why is, we're just now developing the clouds out in Oklahoma that are going to produce the severe weather tonight, which eventually will head east, and that will help trigger more severe weather tomorrow. So I know we want answers like that. Your phone's going to tell you, it's going to show a radar, and then that radar is going to change the next hour, and the radar is going to change the next hour. And that's basically the way of saying no one knows right now if Dyer is going to get severe weather tomorrow. But the chance is there for all of Northwest Indiana, and it's an equal chance for everybody. This isn't going to be, away from the lake, towards the lake, anything like that. Everyone stands an equal chance tomorrow. Okay. Lori, great question. No, Maxwell, this pattern has nothing to do with El Nino or La Nina. We can't. I feel like we pin too much stuff on that. This pattern is simply a cold pool of air out towards the west that's heading east. This pattern is what I call spring. All right. This low pressure is impressive. So there's that. And the amount of cold air and the jet energy associated with this low just happens to line up with some warmth and humidity coming out of the Gulf. So this is just a good old fashioned springtime low pressure system that's going to create a real good dose of severe weather. Okay. Has nothing to do with La Nina or El Nino in terms of that. Savannah, yeah, it's too early to tell. I would imagine we're going to have some kind of watch issue tomorrow. We may have, if anything, tomorrow morning, it'd probably be a severe thunderstorm watch. We'd probably have a couple severe thunderstorm watches out ahead of that main line as it's moving east. If we don't get the morning severe thunderstorm watch, we would probably get another one that gets issued around midday. That could be a tornado watch. It may be just east of here, but I would expect watches to be issued by the Storm Prediction Center. They're the ones that issue the watches. They're out in Norman, Oklahoma. I would imagine they would issue some watches at some point tomorrow. Okay. Susan, great question. And Terry, yes, Shipshewana is in the path of those storms tomorrow. I don't think Shipshewana is going to get that first round as hard tomorrow morning. It's more towards the afternoon that you need to start paying attention there. Okay. All right. So to answer Susan's question, is Wednesday still under severe threat? We talked about this on Region Weather Live last night. Wednesday still is under severe threat I haven't seen anyone talking about it yet because this is such a big event. But I want to show you kind of how that will unfold. So this all moves east and we're dry Wednesday. It's really Wednesday night and Thursday that I was looking at, Susan, in terms of timing. So this is that system right there. This is your Wednesday night right here into Thursday. And you can see we've got low pressure that'll be over us. I do think there's going to be a good chance of some severe weather Wednesday night into Thursday with that as well. We'll see if this thing on Wednesday night gets all clouded with rain from storms down to the south. That would lower our instability and the threat would be south of here. Okay. But if that low pressure comes in and there's some dry weather out ahead of it, then it's fair game Wednesday night into Thursday. And this would be probably Wednesday evening, Wednesday night. That would be the highest threat into early morning hours on Thursday. Okay. So we'll chat about that after this. Okay. So that's it. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, I know the comment on that. Yeah, they're saying Torcon of only 2 out of 10 for us. 2's not 0, so that's number one. We still need to make sure we're ready for that. And they'll probably change their forecast too, to be honest, based on how this goes. All meteorologists are looking at the same data. There's not like a secret model that Weather Channel has or someone else has that we're not seeing. But the threat is further east as those storms mature. We're going to get kind of the younger storms as they're developing. But we still need to keep a close eye on it. We really do tomorrow afternoon. Okay. You could see how I do like the HER. I like this model solution. You see how they develop over us early in the afternoon. They start to get going. And by the time they get going, most of them are east of us. Yes. However, there are models like the NAM Nest that at the same time, they develop the action a little bit further to our west. So we're starting to get mature cells there. So either way, it just depends on where they develop and how they, how mature they are as they move through. Okay. So that's it. You're welcome. Maxwell, you're welcome. Savannah, welcome. And Susan, you're welcome as well. Yeah, no problem. All right, guys, we'll let you go. Appreciate you joining us here on this Monday afternoon. We'll have our eyes to the sky tomorrow morning. Again, I'm doing the morning show, so I'll be tracking that line in from the west. I'll keep you updated throughout the morning on our Facebook page. And then we'll keep you updated from there. Okay. You guys have a great end to your day. Enjoy the sunshine while we have it. It's so pleasant outside. Please get outside and